And I actually strapped a bathtub to the trunk of it. And hey there, and welcome to Matt's Garage and Car Stories with Matt. In late 2007, I was working in northern Alberta for a little transmission shop, and we dabbled in some high performance and stuff, and played around with some race cars and that kind of thing. It was a cool place to work. But anyways, what happened is my wife's immigration from the Philippines wasn't going well, and so I had decided I was going to go there and live in the Philippines with her for a while we were working on getting her to Canada. So I ended up leaving that job even though I really enjoyed it, and around the same time that I was leaving, in fact, like during my last couple days there, I'd already given my notice and everything. My 87 Cadillac DeVille that I had been daily driving ended up giving out on me. I think it was just like the fuel pump or something, but the car was just really decrepit and really wasn't worth investing any time or money into at that point. I had sort of planned to sell it to a friend really cheap when I left for the Philippines, and so it wasn't worth it to me to fix it at the time. And so I basically just needed a car to move out of my apartment and sort of get my last few possessions to my parents' place where I was going to stay until I left to the Philippines. And so anyways, my boss had this 94 Mercury Topaz out back, and it was a car that his daughter had driven for a while, but then it kind of got too decrepit and he got a new car for his daughter, so it got parked out back and kind of was there in case one of his friends or something needed a car. And so he had lent it to one of his friends, and they had actually hit a deer with it and wiped out the whole right front corner of it. And so he says, it ain't pretty, but if you want a car, take it. And I'm like, wow, that's just awesome. So I really appreciated that. It was like it really helped me out at the time. I didn't have any money to spare or anything, and it's just like that's all I needed was to just have a car that ran. And so I packed up my apartment and got back to my parents' place with this car safely and everything, and sort of had it all planned out that I was going to leave pretty quick. But then what happened is I had a house at the time, and I thought I had it sold and everything, and then the sale fell through on that, and so that became a major problem for me. And it ended up that the bank was coming after me for the mortgage and stuff. And so actually my parents were able to step in and kind of front me the money to get out of trouble with the bank and get my house back so that I owned it again. And so we did that, and they also helped me out. They lent me some money to complete some renovations to the house so that I could sell it and kind of get out from under it, And so I did that, and I didn't have any other vehicle at this point but this little 94 Topaz I was given. And so I loaded so much building supplies in that car, it was ridiculous. I put like all the flooring for the entire house. This was like a 1,300 square foot house, and I put all the flooring in that car in one load, and then all the tile for the countertops and everything. I remember on one of my trips back from the hardware store, I got out on the highway and I tried to get up to 100 kilometers an hour, like 60 mile an hour, and the car just wasn't having it. As soon as I got up above 50 mile an hour, the front end of the car just started dancing around. And so I just kind of kept it slow and got home and kind of hauled everything for the renovations, like thousands of pounds of stuff with this car, and all the garbage that I hauled to the dump with it, and windows and doors. I was like I remember I hauled the sliding glass door to the dump in the trunk, and I just like jammed it in the trunk, and it was hanging out the back for like 4 feet. And I went to get a bathtub, and this car had one of those trunk racks on it, and I actually strapped a bathtub to the trunk of it, and I drove like an hour back home with that bathtub on there, and I had the back seat full of windows and the toilet in the back and all this stuff, and it was just crazy how much stuff I packed with that little car. And then the other amazing thing is we had just this brutal cold snap while I was there and doing this, and it was below -40, like, you know, -40 Celsius and Fahrenheit. They're the same temperature. Well, it was even colder than that, and many of my friends in the area, their cars wouldn't start. And so I was taking this car, which had well over 200,000 miles on it. It was like 410,000 kilometers it had on it. And I remember it wouldn't start good in the cold. If you didn't plug in the block heater, it simply wouldn't start. But if you did plug in the block heater, it would always start, to the point where none of my friends' vehicles would start, like even way newer cars and everything. They had them plugged in, everything didn't matter. They wouldn't start, and so I was running them to work in this stupid little Topaz, you know, because it would still start and run. I'm like, well, might as well help some people out, collect some good karma with this car. And you know, so I did that, and finally in the end the starter went out on it, and I ended up by that point I was ready to go to the Philippines type thing, and I was kind of done with it, so I gave it to one of my friends, and I think he fixed it and drove it for a bit further. I mean, it was a pretty amazing car. And one of the coolest experiences I had in it was, like, it was really rusty. I remember, like, in the rear seat, the floor of it was just plywood because all the metal had rotted out. And so my boss, who had it previous, had just, like, laid plywood in there for a floor pan. And that's kind of the condition of the car. The back wheels were kind of like that, permanently stanced, probably from all the building supplies I'd been packing in it and everything. But this little car was such a trooper, and I was at the gas station with it one day, and I mean, it looked hideous. As I said, it had all this deer damage on the front and everything, and it just looked like something out of a wrecking yard or something. So I'm sitting there pumping gas in it at the gas station, and there's this girl over at the next pump, and she's all dressed up, and she's in like some brand new SUV and everything, got her fancy sunglasses on and everything, and she's just like, I could tell she was glaring at my car. She's just like glaring towards me. And so I just, you know, sort of made eye contact with her, and without breaking focus, I reached down with my foot and just kicked the fender, and a big clump of rust fell off, and she literally shook her head and looked away. So I knew at that point she really was glaring at my car, and it's just hilarious. I love driving cars like that, actually, and seeing people's reaction to them out in public. And I always think, well, you know, if it gets you there, that's all that counts. That's a car's purpose, is to get you safely where you need to go. And at this point in time, that's exactly what that car was doing for me. So I mean, how can you hate on that? You know, if somebody's getting some extra service out of the car and getting where they need to go. And you know, I really appreciated that car. I know a lot of people probably think that the Tempos and the Topazes weren't that good at cars, but that car was such a trooper for me, and really got me through a tough situation, and still very grateful for that car and for the people who gave it to me and everything. So I do hope you enjoyed this car story with Matt. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have yourself a great day.